at this point right now, Teresa?
Still underway, and a couple blocks from the church is where I am, and you can probably hear the protesters behind me. We've heard quite a difference out here versus what we've heard inside the church. Inside the church, people have been heaping a lot of praise on President Trump for his handling of the protests over the last couple of weeks and the coronavirus pandemic. But out here, we've heard people screaming, defund the police, we don't trust you, and Black Lives Matter. Now, what was talked about and the people who did the talking inside the church is certainly notable, but you know what else is notable? The people who were missing from the discussion. City of Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall, Dallas County Sheriff Marion Brown, Dallas County DA John Creuzot. Those are the top law enforcers in Dallas, and they are all Black. I double-checked minutes before the event began to see if maybe a late invite came into their offices, and it didn't. They all confirmed to me they were never invited to this discussion. Now, President Trump did unveil these 4 initiatives that he says will begin to solve racial inequality in the United States. He says, number 1, more economic investment in Black communities. Number 2, address healthcare inequalities. Number 3, enact school choice. And number 4, he says we should not be defunding police, but we should instead be investing more in them, especially when it comes to training and equipment. The president reiterated several times his belief that police have to dominate the streets.
But we're working to finalize an executive order that will encourage police departments nationwide to meet the most current professional standards of force. And that means force, but force with compassion. But if you're going to have to really do a job, if somebody's really bad, you're going to have to do it with real strength, real power.
While the Dallas Police Department Chief of Police is not here, the chief from the city of Glen Heights, population 13,000, is a part of that panel discussion, as is a member of the Dallas Police Association. Chris?